If you're looking to avoid some of the common food storage mistakes that a lot of people make in preparedness, then this is the right video for you. After spending about 15 years in preparedness, I've made my fair share of mistakes, and I'm sure that there's going to be more in the future as well. And when you add everything together, these mistakes weren't cheap either. Over the course of years, this has costed me probably thousands of dollars. And look, your food storage journey is going to look a whole lot different than mine. The space you have available, what you can afford, your skills in the kitchen, all of these are going to play a role in what the best foods to store for your individual situation are. And that's why today I want to share some types of foods that you should think twice about keeping in your prepper pantry. And these are just theories. These are lessons learned from real experience and plenty of trial and error. Now, keep in mind, this is not to say that these foods don't have a place in your food storage, because they absolutely do. But they do need extra consideration for how much you decide to store and what some of the alternatives might be. Again, it really depends on your situation and what's going to work best for you. Also, after you watch the video, if you have any ideas or suggestions that might help other people, make sure and leave those in the comments below. So with that, let's dive into some of these. And the first one is avoid the foods that you don't normally eat. Eat what you store and store what you eat. It never fails, especially for people just getting into preparedness. They buy a whole bunch of food. Maybe they find great deals, or they just grab a bunch of different types of canned food and put it in their pantry. And over the course of a few years, if you don't eat those are all going to go bad. So make sure you're storing food that you're going to be able to inventory and rotate, and you're going to go through quick enough that it's not going to expire. A big challenge when I first started out was the canned food versus the frozen food. We bought a bunch of canned green beans and corn and things like that, but throughout our daily lives, our normal routine, we like the freezer vegetables better than the canned vegetables. So all of those cans ended up going bad. So over the course of time, we've incorporated some of these canned foods into our diet, and we make sure and use those. That way we don't have to throw them away, and we're rotating through those in a good amount of time. And this not only goes for canned foods, but boxed food as well. If you've got children having 10, 20 boxes of cereal, you're going to go through that pretty quickly. If you don't, you may end up throwing those away. You've also got items like brown sugar, which will turn into a brick if it's not properly sealed. You've got brown rice that will only last 6 to 12 months because of the natural oils, so white rice is better. You've got whole wheat flour, which spoils a whole lot faster than white flour. And things like beef jerky may only last a year or two regardless of what you do. Granola is another one that doesn't last very long. So think about those as well. How much of these foods that don't have a really long shelf life are you stockpiling, and how much do you need to? Because like I said, you don't want to be throwing stuff away, and you can save quite a bit of money if you're doing it the right way. Having food storage isn't just about emergencies. You'll spend a lot less on groceries, and you'll feel more secure about what you have stockpiled in case money's tight 1 month or the next. You've got a little bit extra to draw on, even if it isn't a power outage, natural disaster, or a grid down event. And this is probably one of the biggest money-saving tips in this video today. Think of it sort of like a restaurant or a grocery store. They only stock as much as they're going to be able to go through. And think about your food storage the same way. Only store as much as you're going to be able to go through, otherwise you're going to be throwing some things away in the next few years. Another one that sort of goes along with this is foods or meals that are complex to prepare. If you've got the beans stored, I've talked about how we've got 10 different types of beans that we store, but if you don't know how to make chili or put some recipes together, having those, yes, you could just open a can and eat them, but if you store a whole bunch of beans and different ingredients for soups and stews, you're going to end up throwing them away because you don't use them on a regular basis. So one, make sure you understand how to use these different ingredients, and two, also keep in mind that in a disaster scenario, the simpler approach is probably going to be the best approach. So there may be times when you don't want to prepare these
complex meals, or you may not be able to. So if you are not really good in the kitchen and know a lot of different recipes, maybe think twice about storing a lot of these foods, regardless what a lot of people say in the preparedness community. We hear about dried beans and flour and rice in 5-gallon buckets. We hear about that all the time. But if you don't know how to prepare those beans, or you don't know how to make bread or bake or anything like that, it's going to be tough to use those before they expire. Another thing to consider with these foods that need a few steps or a few ingredients is they require extensive cooking time, which means they're going to eat through your fuel supply. You're probably going to have to constantly sit and babysit these. And a lot of these recipes need to hit specific temperatures, which could be a challenge depending on what fuel sources and cooking sources that you have. So if you are one of those people that is not really good in the kitchen, make sure you have the simpler methods available to you. And even if you are somebody that really likes to get into the kitchen and prepare meals from scratch, make sure you have some of these simpler solutions as well, because there may be situations where it's just not feasible to spend all day in the kitchen or a few hours in the kitchen. Sometimes you just want to open a can of soup, heat that up, and you're good to go. And even though these meals that you prepare yourself are probably going to taste a whole lot better than a bag of freeze-dried food or opening a can of soup, they're also probably going to take quite a bit of water to prepare. And that leads me to my next one, which is these water-intensive food items. And the first one that comes to mind with this is pastas and spaghetti. You're going to have to boil a pot of water to cook these. And if your water situation is tight and it's a disaster or an emergency where there's no end in sight, you may want to be rationing the water. And the more you use for different things, the less you're going to have for yourself, whether you're talking about hydration or hygiene. Now, FEMA and the Red Cross recommend 1 gallon of water per person per day, which if you're going that route, you're not going to want to prepare any of these meals at all. My recommendation is 2 to 3 gallons of water per person per day for disasters and emergencies. That way you can take care of some of these other things and you won't have to be so strict with your rationing or your water usage. Now, you can get some of these 5-gallon, 6-gallon buckets at Amazon or Walmart. I even sell some over at My Survival Foods that are higher quality than the ones that you would get from Walmart. But 5 gallons is pretty much that sweet spot where, unless you've got a family member that's really old or really young, everyone's going to be able to carry one of these. Along with items like spaghetti and pasta, I mentioned dried beans earlier, which is going to take some water to rehydrate those beans before you cook them. So think about all of these different meals that may take a whole lot of water. And this is not to say you don't want these in your food storage, but make sure you have the water available to actually use these foods. If not, maybe focus more on the canned foods, the foods that you just have to open, put them together, or even just eat straight out of the can. So just keep in mind, when you're storing these foods that are water intensive, you're not only committing to storing these foods, you're also committing to storing enough water to be able to use these foods. Something else you might want to avoid is foods that need repackaging for long-term storage. This is if you don't really have the time or the energy to take these large packages and repackage them into smaller packages, or if you don't want to spend the extra money that it's going to take for Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers and food storage containers. You can get a great deal a lot of times with these bulk packages, but a lot of those require you to repackage those into smaller portions. That way, in a disaster or emergency, you don't open up something and have to use the whole thing before it goes bad. You can open up smaller portions. If you don't have the time and space for this, though, it may not be a really good deal for you to stock, 50, 100 pounds of flour. And while flour doesn't go bad in a day or two, after a while, if it's sitting there, you're opening up that opportunity for pests and for moisture and things like that. So think about that as well. If you have the ability and the time to repackage some of these larger bulk foods, whether that be the large bags of dried beans, pastas, cereals, the number 10 cans of long-term food storage foods, all of those, once they're opened, need to be repackaged. And along with the supplies that you'll need to repackage these, like the Mylar bags and the oxygen absorbers, you also need to make sure you do it right. Otherwise, you're defeating the whole purpose. So making sure you have the skills and the understanding how to use Mylar bags, how to use oxygen absorbers, make sure you get a good seal. All of that is important for these foods that might need to be repackaged. They are a great idea and you can save a whole lot of money, but if you're not going to do that, you may want to avoid these. Another one is storing large amounts of freezer foods, and I have quite a bit of food. I have a couple of freezers, but I also have an energy source to run those in a disaster or an emergency. If you don't have an energy option, you may want to avoid stocking up, filling your freezer with a bunch of meat, because in a disaster or an emergency where the power is out for a few days or longer, all of that food is going to go to waste. And you hear stories all the time about how neighborhoods will have barbecues and get-togethers and use all of this food, which is all fine and good, but you want to be able to have some of this available after these barbecues and neighborhood get-togethers are all over and everyone else is out of food. So while these freezer foods are the best option, the most tasty option, the most healthy option, you have to consider what you're going to do in a power outage situation. And if you don't have the means to run a mini fridge or a chest freezer, I recently did a video on that, you're going to have to find alternatives for this. It could be the canned meats. It could be powdered cheese, the powdered milks, or even the condensed milks. Things like that you would need to think about. This is a freezer food or a refrigerated food. So what are my other options for long-term storage if the grid is down and I don't have a way to power my refrigerator or freezer? Now, luckily, there are a number of different options, even low-cost options to keep your refrigerator or freezer running. There are also options to keep these foods cool during a disaster or emergency. But keep in mind, once the food hits about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when the bacteria starts partying, and that's when everything starts to go bad. Meat goes bad after just a few hours. Dairy products turn nasty pretty quick. And even if the cheese doesn't get moldy real quick, it doesn't look very appealing and it's not very tasty after it sits out on the counter for a while. So think about these different options that you would have. If you've got an energy source, fantastic. But if you don't, what are the options that you need to look at? Canned foods, freeze-dried foods, or even powdered foods.
And speaking of freeze-dried foods, these are a fantastic way to bulk up your food storage, especially if you live in an apartment or a small space and you don't have a lot of storage room. Now, I don't suggest that you have 100% of your food storage, these freeze-dried long-term food storage buckets, because the food you eat every day is going to taste a whole lot better. Now, I have a Harvest Right that I can freeze-dry my own food, and that is much better than some of these buckets. But at the same time, the food in these buckets, while it might be high in sodium and not the healthiest thing in the world, it is a great way to bulk up your food storage. So having some of it on hand is a great addition to your food storage. I sell some over at My Survival Foods. And if you have any questions about that, please get in touch with me if you're interested in something like that. But regardless with what you choose and if you choose it, just remember there's a lot of food storage companies out there and they all give you different serving size. Never go by the serving size, always go by the calorie count that you're getting and the type of calories you're getting as well. Are all the calories from rice, or are you getting a mixture of different vitamins and minerals and those things that your body is going to need?
So like I said in the beginning, your food storage is going to be different than everyone else's. With all the information that we have available to us these days, we can get a lot of different ideas and try different things. But make sure you put together a plan that is going to work best for you depending on your situation. If you have limited space, the storing 500 pounds of flour probably isn't going to work for you, or storing 500 gallons of water probably isn't going to work for you. So think about the things that you're going to need to do, whether that be the long-term freeze-dried food, the buckets, which are easy to store. You throw them in a closet, they're easily stackable. Or if you do have quite a bit of space, say you've got a basement or a spare bedroom, then you can put together a pretty good food storage plan that incorporates a lot of different things. It really just depends on you and your situation. So while food storage is pretty simple, it gets a little bit more complicated as you individualize your plan for your family needs. Just remember, the most important rule is to store what you eat what you store. Make sure you're inventorying that and rotating through that food to make sure you don't have a lot of waste. And think about these other foods where it may make you feel better to have 100 pounds of beans stored and 100 pounds of flour. But if you're not going to use that, it's just going to sit there in the closet. And when the time comes to use it, you're not going to be able to. And depending on where you are in your preparedness journey, this will change over time as well. In the very beginning, you may not have alternative energy sources to keep a refrigerator or freezer running. Over the course of time, you might be able to do that so you can add to your food storage that way. Just remember, keep it simple. Keep to the foods that you're going to use and the foods that are going to be the simplest to prepare in a disaster or emergency. I recently did a video on the best canned foods to store, and this is a great way to take all the guesswork out of everything. Canned foods last a really long time. They have a really good shelf life, and most of them can be eaten straight out of the can. If you want to watch that video, you can watch that here. But with that, I'm done today. If you have any questions or comments, make sure and leave them below. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, we will talk to you later. Take care and prepare.